right, everyone, good morning and welcome. Welcome to the 14th edition of the SCTA Forum and Dinner. My name is Charlie. For those who already know me, I'm delighted to be with you every year. So welcome this time here in Basel. We will start this morning with something a little bit different from the previous years because it's a contest. We will talk about the next generation, but I'm going to hand you the mic directly, Judith, to explain to us what's happening this morning. Thank you again for being with us.
So good morning, welcome everybody. On behalf of the SCTA Next Gen Council, I would really like to welcome you to our first sustainability contest. And we're very proud of this, and I also want to take a moment to gratitude my gratefulness, the thankness to our sponsors. So that's the SCTA, UCC, Chibo, JDE Peets, Vitia, Louis Dreyfus, Sukafina, Hakovco, Touton, and Enveritas. So thank you. So big applause for all our sponsors. Yeah, so today we have three outstanding initiatives. They're all focusing on safeguarding the future of coffee. So this is really a great example within our coffee community of these entrepreneurs, how they're really looking at how can I solve those long-standing problems that we have in the coffee sector. But of course, there can only be one winner. So you can vote the whole day until 6 p.m., but you can only vote once. So you go to the SCTA Connect tab, to the sustainability contest, you scroll down, you select your favorite initiative, and then don't forget to click on the send button. But let's get into action. You don't want to hear me talking all the time. You want to hear from our great initiatives, our great speakers. So with that, Cheyenne.
So, hello everyone. So each of our three pitches today are going to be about 10 minutes long. And after each pitch, I'm going to ask the presenter a question. And then at the end of the pitches, we're going to open it to the floor to ask questions to all of the attendees. During the pitches, you can go onto the app and you can collect onto the agenda and then the session, and you can click to ask a question. And those questions will come through, and then we will present them to the pitches and the presenters after their pitch. So, without further ado, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for applying to the contest. And we have three very innovative, amazing finalists here. We're going to start with Tommy from Protein, and he's going to present his very innovative initiative on composting. So without further ado, Tommy from Protein.
Perfect. Guys, thanks so much. Thank you for coming to the very first session, very early in the morning. My name is Tommy. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Protein. And at Protein, our mission is to innovate waste management using insect larvae. But first, a little bit about our journey. So my journey started in 2017, where I made a documentary for JDE. And there were two key issues. One was youth engagement in coffee was very low, and second was the yields of coffee farmers was very low. All of this birthed Protein, which started in 2018. Fast forward to today, we're taking coffee waste and we're turning it into fertilizer. I want to take a step back first, and I found a very powerful quote. Water begets water, soil is the womb, vegetation is the midwife. Water holds all life. So where there's life, you have water, and this is a circular process, it's a recycling process. All of this water is stored in the soil. Soil is like a sponge. So it doesn't just store water, it also stores life, and life means bacteria, nematodes, protists, fungal hyphae, etc. Vegetation is the channel where water goes up into the atmosphere, forms clouds, rains back down, and this is a circular process. And all of this is to say that we can exacerbate this process, this natural cycle, and you can do this by putting more organic matter into your soil. But let's get back down to earth. What are we pitching today? Today I'm pitching a process and a product which is called supercharged fertilizer. What it is it's coffee waste and honey water fermented and fed to larvae, and the larvae produce a supercharged fertilizer. And today I'm going to share with you how we're going to revolutionize waste management using these insect larvae. So we have already been producing supercharged this year at 3 sites, and we don't just do that with coffee. We're doing it already with avocado and with jackfruit, And the end of this year, we're increasing our work in Kasese with AgriEvolve and our work with Ruakov in Rwanda. So let's talk more about how this actually works. What is supercharged? So since yesterday, it's a patent pending process, which is very exciting. And this is what it is. So you take your coffee waste and your honey water and you prepare it, you ferment it, and you lay it down on a greenhouse floor in a thick layer. You take your larva, our insect larva, they eat this waste, and as they're eating it, they convert it into manure. And now the special part is you kill the larva inside their own manure, and then you dry it, and you pack it, and you sieve it. And it only takes 1 month. And 1 month, if you know composting, is very, very quick. But what makes this more special is not just that it's very fast, it's chitin. It's the power of chitin. So what is chitin? Chitin is the fibrous substance that you find in insects as well as fungi. In insects, you find it in their exoskeleton. In fungi, you find it in the cell walls. So the benefits of chitin. The first thing is that chitin is dead insects. So other insects, they come to your coffee and they smell dead insects. It acts as a natural insecticide. So they're repelled by the chitin. Secondly, because of the symbiotic relationship with fungus, you really enhance nutrient uptake. Fungus is what brings nutrients to the plant, and you also improve water retention in your soil. And lastly, all of this promotes a healthier root system, which increases yields, which increases income to the farmer. Okay, so why is this better than conventional composting? I mentioned already, it takes only 1 month, which conventional composting can take up to 5 months, and we contain chitin, which is the most important element. Then if you compare it to vermicomposting and black soldier fly, our process, the supercharged, can really work together. It's very interesting, but vermicomposting is not very scalable on a commercial level. So the big elephant in the room, the chemical fertilizer. Why are we better than chemical fertilizer? So with Sukafina, with Yukov, we did trials for 3 seasons, and every single season we proved that we had higher yields than the chemical fertilizer at a better price point. So for a farmer, this means that you get twice the yield, and we have 60% lower cost when you produce supercharged fertilizer. So our objectives: by 2030, we want to take 100,000 tons of coffee pulp and transform it into 25,000 tons of fertilizer. That's by 2030, and we want to do that every single year. Second, by the end of next year, we want to have 3 new washing stations on board as partners, and also we want to prove and confirm in our report that we're 60% cheaper with twice the yield compared to chemical. And we're able to leverage an amazing project. So we're working together with AgriEvolve and the Dutch government. So from now until the end of next year, we're going to train 3,723 farmers. Of those, 1,000 farmers are going to increase their income. We also want to prove with Wageningen University that we can increase the soil organic matter content by 30% over 3 seasons with 100 farmers. And lastly, we want to prove that we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions of the green bean equivalent by 70%. So, most importantly, how can we scale this globally? The most important thing with everything is the affordability. It's the cost of production. So the cost of production of supercharged fertilizer is $91 per ton, which I mentioned already is 60% cheaper than chemical. And I'm sure that if we work together, we can bring down that cost even further. Secondly is the readily available market. For us, the market is coffee pulp or other waste streams, but also the market for organic fertilizer. The market for fertilizer is definitely there. And if you take just these 3 companies, one of their washing stations, the big ones, we can reach 39% of our targets by 2030. And lastly is the replication. So I mentioned already, we're doing this with avocado and jackfruit. And in the pipeline, we have pineapple, biogas digestate, castor oil waste, maize, and municipal waste. And all of that fertilizer needs a home. And we want to sell that to the Robusta farmers. Lastly, how will we use the funding? It's 20,000 euros of funding. So I mentioned already that we're working with Wageningen University. So specifically, we're working with Dr. Esther Ronner. She's doing her research on the nitrogen life cycle of coffee plants using proteins fertilizer at AgriEvolve's washing station and their farmers. So we want to boost her research. We want to bring in 2 more PhD students. We want to do more lab testing. We want to have some extension workers bring in data. And next is business development. So we want to see more projects, see more washing stations, see more composting projects. And lastly, this November, we have a film team, which is going to come to Uganda to film the whole process. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tommy. So, yeah, question for you.
Yeah.
You've mentioned in your presentation that you've been working with washing stations, but is this model scalable for natural Arabica and Robustas?
Yeah. So, good question. So, with AgriEvolve, so most washing stations, of course, they have the wet process and the dry process. So, with this current process, we can include 30% dry material, and then that's for the Arabica. So, 30%, not 100%, unfortunately, but 30%. And who knows what we can do in the future, but for now it's 30%. And then for Robusta, we can, Robusta is usually found in more central areas where you have fruit processing. So we can also include the Robusta together with that fruit processing.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
So now we're going to move on to Dinesh from Sukafina, Indonesia. And Dinesh will be pitching his project Grounds for Growth, which is an empowering community farmers around sustainable coffee waste management.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank SCTA team for this great opportunity. So our project name is Grounds for Growth. So what does it mean? So grounds is nothing but waste management, the waste, coffee pulp waste from the washing station. And growth means how we are sustainably utilizing the waste to growth of the farmer's livelihood. So it's a farmer community-based compost yard. The project aims to tackle two key challenges, sustainability challenges, to improve the productivity, livelihoods, and environmental impact. So these are the two key challenges we have identified. Decline in coffee productivity. So the main root cause is poor adoption of good agriculture practice, effect of climate change, negative effect in the labor cost and agro input cost. According to US agriculture data, in 2023 and 2024, the Indonesia coffee forecast at 9.8 million 60 kilo bags, from which 11.85 million bags, which is significantly low from 2011 and 2012. It's a significant drop in the productivity. And the second main challenge is waste management at the washing station. So an average washing station in Indonesia produce 240 metric tons of coffee pulp waste every year. So it's left in the ground, and it's potentially causing the contamination in the soil, and it's contaminating the water resources. And it is mainly because of improper waste management system at the washing station. So how does it work? So how we are going to tackle this issue? So it start from the farmer groups. So we select a farmer registered supply chain, actively selling to our chain of custody washing station. And so they committed to work in our compost yard. So we do a baseline survey at the beginning of the project to collect the basic information of the farmer's profile, productivity, and their living income. And so these farmers are linked to our coffee washing station. This supply chain washing station buys traceable coffee from the farmers. And there is a system in place to monitor the coffee processing and the transportation to our compost yard. So after this two basic process is done, so we establish a community-based nursery, which Sukafina team will work with the farmer group for the site selection and the technical aspects. And our trained agronomist will train the farmer group to prepare the compost. So in the next slide, we see how to prepare the compost. And the compost yard is fully operated and maintained by the farmer group, actually. The final step is the farmer training and the distribution. So before we are distributing the compost to the farmers, we train the farmers on farm readiness. What does it mean? So farm readiness means before applying the organic fertilizer, what are the activities they need to carry out in the farm? For example, the farm is free from weeds. The tree should be properly pruned so that they can get maximum benefit out of applying the fertilizer. So once we carried out this training, so we distribute the fertilizer, organic fertilizer to the farmers. So it's a sustainable approach. This compost yard, we estimate to stay for 3 to 4 years. So it will again, we will select the farmers, and it will go vice versa actually. So compost preparation is a technical aspect. I will keep it very short. For every tons of coffee pulp waste, we add 100 kilos of poultry manure or farmyard manure. It will multiply the microorganisms and will add earthworms and biological agents in order to assist the decomposition process and dolomite to neutralize the pH level. And this is all based on the recommendation from our agronomist. And finally, the compost is covered with the plastics. It's nothing but to prevent from the direct sunlight and the rainwater. And every 2 weeks or 3 weeks once, the farmer group will mix the compost to uniform decomposition process. And after 4 to 6 month period, once the compost is ready, we'll sieve and we'll send it for a lab test. Once it is ready, we'll distribute to the farmers. So there are 6 key objectives from this project. It's community engagement and the collaboration. It's under one roof. So increasing in living income. So how we are going to do that? So we do baseline survey at the beginning and end of the project. We see how the incremental growth in the productivity, so how it is impacting to the farmers' living income. And second, regenerative agriculture. We train the farmers on the farm readiness, as I said before. And access to quality agro inputs. This is our macronutrients. We're trying to achieve this macronutrient level, which is slightly low from the urban compost, but we are trying to maximize our outcome. And climate mitigation process. So we educate the farmers to use not to use synthetic fertilizer, which is really expensive. Most of the farmers not affordable to buy the synthetic fertilizer, and reduce GHS emissions. So we already did a survey with our external consultants. The majority of on-farm carbon emission is happening because of use of excessive synthetic fertilizer. And finally, sustainable utilization of waste. It's a cost-effective model. We are constructing all the raw materials we are using with the local available materials where farmers can easily can accessible. And our estimation production cost is 0.08 cents per kilo. So it's everything together. It's not only the compost yard. We are achieving all these 6 elements. So finally, it's a cost-effective model, and it is completely run by the farmer group, and which is consists of 40% of women farmers. So Ground for Growth has great potential. So this project already started in November 2022 in West Java. So we already in 4 locations, and the 90 farmers are already benefiting out of this project. So we are expecting 77 metric tons of green coffee from this project. So this is our scale-up plan. So we want to scale up this project throughout Indonesia, all the potential coffee growing area, 25 locations. So 563 farmers, 40% of women farmers. 1,125 metric tons of compost, and it is directly benefiting the 94 hectares of coffee farm. So each capacity of the compost yard is 50 metric tons. We don't want to make it very huge because it is not efficient way to manage by the farmers. And every farmer, each farmers will get 1,500 to 2,500 kilos of ready compost. It depends on the farm size, and we are aimed to support at least 25% of the coffee farm. Thank you very much. Vote for the farmers, vote for the growth, vote for the livelihood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dinesh. A question for you. You mentioned at the beginning that one of your challenges is climate change and the effects of climate change on farmers. And you alluded to it at the end. How can this project have an effect on climate change mitigation?
Yeah, so first thing is we educating the farmers to reduce use of synthetic fertilizer by using more organic compost. And second, if the farmers are using organic compost, it will increase the soil sequestration. So it will eventually directly mitigate the climate change.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
But last but not least, we're going to move on to Sergio from TechnoServe and the Cafe project in Peru. And Sergio is going to present his project on training coffee baristas from coffee growing households. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As she said, I work for TechnoServe. TechnoServe is an NGO that supports coffee farmers in 14 countries. I work in Peru. So, we will present our project. It's train baristas, train young people from the coffee areas to become baristas. What is the opportunity that we look? Over the past 5 years, coffee consumption in Peru has doubled to 1.2 kilograms per capita. Finland's consumption is 10 times higher. We have the opportunity to increase that. And especially the coffee shop have seen a 10% annual growth nationwide, mostly led by young entrepreneurs. Not only in Lima, the capital, even in other cities inside of the country. What is our goal? Strengthen the capacity of 200 young people to integrate into the coffee value chain through their own ventures or getting jobs in cafeterias. Who are they? This is very important. They are sons and daughters of coffee smallholder farmers or members of producer organizations. They live in the same areas. They live in the coffee areas. Our approach establishes alliance with the stakeholders in my country, that look for this kind of strengthen young people. Offer barista course, basic, intermediate, and advanced course. Training program in green coffee analysis, roasting, espresso, grinder, milk texture, and alternative brewing methods. And with a local partner, these young people can get professional certifications as a baristas. What are the relevant outcomes? Increased the value addition to coffee, because these young people will work with their own coffee and they probably sell their coffee in the shops. Entrepreneurship and self-employed, because they can open their own ventures or work for cafeterias or for other business. Promotion of the quality of coffee, because they will have the opportunity to show what is the quality of the coffee of their sons. It contributes to the generational turnover. Most of the young people want to move to the big cities to work in everything, abandon the coffee areas. I want to show a small video about that, please.
Es interesante que esté aprendiendo a hacer los capuchinos, que es curso barismo. Cuando llegué primero al básico, empecé a conocer el café, porque más antes tan solo lo consumía. ¿No? Estoy llevando el curso de barismo es porque yo quisiera poner una cafetería más adelante, y para eso tengo que empezar a conocernos.
Estamos aprendiendo bastante sobre el espresso, cómo sacarlo a temperatura, cómo tener ese café tan perfecto que sale entre nosotros. Yo me siento demasiado orgulloso por venir de aquí, de esta tierra, más que todo es saber pues, dónde viene el café. Nosotros lo producimos, lo sembramos, con nuestras propias manos, nosotros mismos.
Vine aquí al curso, ¿no?, de acá del barismo para poder aprender, ¿no?, más técnicas para hacer degustación de cafés. A futuro, ¿no?, pensamos poner una cafetería, ¿no?, y así poder crecer, ¿no?
Thanks. Well, if you want to know more about Technoser and coffee, you can scan this QR code. So I want to thank to JDP because they are supporting us in this challenge. Thank you so much for everything.
Thanks, Sergio. We wanted to ask you that what do you think could be the real positive effects of this kind of training on coffee-growing households or their own coffee-growing households back on the farms?
Okay, as I told you, before, most of the young people want to move to the capital to work in everything with low incomes or in business that don't give that the enough incomes to live in a better way. And in the coffee in this way, when we school that we will help in the same coffee areas, they have the opportunity to increase or to add the value of the coffee in these areas, and they can open their own businesses or work for other companies in this way. So the people we try to maintain the youth in the coffee area, and they will promote the coffee of this area, and more buyers can go to buy this kind of coffee.
Great, thank you so much. So we've heard from 3 of our really inspiring finalists now. So we're going to open the floor for some questions from the audience. And just to remind you, you can do this through the SCTA app if you go to the session and then the question and answer part of the app.
Good. So I would like to ask you a question going around the table, and would like to start with you, Dinesh. So what do you need? What is the key to the success of your initiative, or to the continuous success of your initiative?
So how we are organizing the farmers, and we are continually educating the farmers and train so that they can achieve the end goal actually. So it's not only about the technical aspect, so it's about the collaboration with the farmers to achieve the target.
Thank you. About your response to the question, what do you think? What do you need? What is key?
Okay, the first thing definitely is key is a partnership with an organization, because what we believe is that the waste, as soon as people realize that they can make money from their waste, they'll want to own the waste. That's also in our model. So whoever produces the waste gets to own the waste, so we need to have a partnership with them. Our benefit is that we get to sell the baby larva, and that's our revenue model, but the key thing is that someone with waste or an organization with waste, so like I said, it could be coffee, it could be other things, but we need that solid partnership together. That's what we need. Yeah.
Thank you. Sergio, what do you need? What is the key driver to guarantee the success of your initiative?
Okay, I think, or we believe that with this kind of support to these young people, we can transform the coffee industry in our country. So because when they learn about the quality of the coffee, they can return to the coffee areas, improve some techniques, probably to plant new varieties of the coffee, and in this way they can improve the quality of the area. So in this way, Peruvian coffee could be reach a better profile in the world.
Thank you.
While we wait for some questions from the audience, I'll mention another question.
Anybody have a question? Anyone would like to ask a question?
Great.
Tommy, what would be the application for this for countries non-East African? So could you, is it possible to export the larvae? Could it be scaled globally or not? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Question or not?
Yeah. Should I? Yeah. So no, good question. So obviously within East Africa, we can ship our baby larvae, which we're doing now to Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania. But it's true, what if we go to Colombia or to Vietnam? The first option is that we partner with an existing black soldier fly company. So there are a lot of black soldier fly companies, they're popping up all over the world, and they're also looking for a market for their product, which is their baby larva. So we'll partner with an existing company, say, guys, we can make money with your baby larva, and then we do the process, that's our job. And then we're also talking to some partners who have so much waste that they want to do their in-house production of baby larvae. So it would be those two. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's another question for Tommy. You touched that subject very briefly, but do you have more details about what's the carbon emission of your fertilizer compared to the synthetic ones?
Yeah.
Can you go into a bit more details?
Yeah.
If possible.
Okay, so this is obviously what we're studying. Most of Wageningen University's research is on this topic. The topic isn't very well studied in general. Like the green bean greenhouse gas emissions hasn't been studied that much. The first thing to note is that if you take any pile of organic waste and you feed it to larvae, you reduce that pile by 70%. And most of this is from emissions. So speed isn't just important for the cost, speed is also important because you have less emissions of ammonia and other greenhouse gases. So at least the pile itself is a 70% reduction. So if that would just be the coffee pulp and the wastewater, what we don't know yet is how much you can sequester, and that's also what we really want to study. You know, how much carbon emissions do you sequester by replacing synthetic? I know some studies have been done, but not with this specific fertilizer, but at least 70% just on the physical material.
Is it working? Yeah, sorry. I imagine the larvae, when they digest the waste, they also produce carbon. And I was wondering whether that's something you can quantify today or not. Just being curious.
Yeah, no, it's good. So they definitely do emit carbon, like I said. So like carbon emissions is just the release of gases. And if you leave a pile for too long, you release more than if you compost it faster. So I don't know the quantifiable, how much the larvae do versus the composting. But the important part is that the faster you can compost it, the less emissions there are, the less gases are released. Yeah.
This question is for the Peru project, for the barista youth in barista project. I would like to know if part of your business plan will be complemented with agritourism and perhaps culinary experience, so to bring a more comprehensive package and they can go beyond pure barista experience.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's true. No, yeah. We expect that with this project, no, they can develop more skills, not only in the barista, because they will know more abilities to prepare not other kind of beverage, but they base the course in the coffee beverage.
We have another question. This gentleman here. It's on. Go ahead.
Hello. My question is also for Tommy. We've seen many innovative initiatives recently about the use of biochar and using those biowaste for biochar. Did you compare your technology with this technology?
Yeah, so we actually add biochar to our waste. So we put a 15% inclusion of biochar. We mix it in the waste. What's really nice about biochar is that the larvae, they ingest it, they don't digest it. And just like humans, if you would eat charcoal, it's good for your digestion. So it actually increases the growth rate of larvae. And this is also part of the question that you asked about the dry Robusta, the dry Arabica. This could be a combination. So you include some of it just in their diet, you biochar some of it. Biochar has amazing applications for soil as well. I think that if you have a wet substrate, you should use black soldier fly. And if you have a very dry substrate, you should use biochar. One thing that is important, there have been studies done on biochar on just coffee husk. It doesn't have enough, it's not dry enough. Like you need to add, to make it efficient, because biochar you have to have a continuous motion. And if it's not dry enough, doesn't produce enough heat, you're gonna have to add external heat. So just coffee husk is not good enough for biochar. So you'd have to add a little bit of heat. But combining it would be amazing. Yeah.
Do we have any other question in the audience? Don't hesitate to raise your hand up. Right here, I'm coming to you.
Thank you, and thanks for all the presenters. I think I agree with the previous speakers. It's been all very inspiring. Tommy, quick question about your model. With your system, do the producers need to complement this compost with the synthetic ones, or can one single producer satisfy all their kind of composting needs? And what is that maybe a break-even point or a particular size of farm beyond which this is worth kind of applying? Like, is there a minimum farm size that is required for the success of this, basically?
A minimum farm, because your question is, can they satisfy their composting needs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or can they satisfy their chemical fertilizer needs on the soil, on the plant?
Can a smallholder farm, let's say, of a few hectares satisfy all of their composting needs with this method?
Okay, so our model is that at the washing station, it's already centralized, so there's already the pulp which is at the washing station. Do you mean the fertilizer needs at the farm?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Uganda and many places, our two competitions are one, chemical fertilizer, and two, no fertilizer. So already a lot of farmers don't use any fertilizer at all. So if you can encourage them to use any type of fertilizer, then it's already great. And then we're also doing studies where we're combining our organic fertilizer with chemical fertilizer. I think chemical fertilizer has a great role to play, but should be combined. I think your question is like, if a washing station has X amount of pulp that it takes in, is that enough fertilizer for all the farmers that put it back? And again, it depends. Like if you go to Brazil or Uganda, it's going to be a different case. But yeah, that's also why I really want to do this research, is that we don't exactly know yet why this chitin works so well. What it does is that there are already nutrients in the soil which are dormant, and the chitin wakes them up and puts them back into the plant. So, kind of, yeah.
Brilliant, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other question? Ladies and gentlemen, raise your hand up if ever. I think we're done here, ladies.
So I still have a question for Dinesh.
Please do.
So you really work closely with the farmers. So what have you seen with respect to changing farmer behavior? What have you learned from that?
So it's not only like a theoretical section to the farmers. We gather and we show some slides, or we educate them directly, so they won't really listen. So we need to demonstrate. So we need to prove them. So how it is, what is the end result. So only after that they will start trusting us actually. So only theoretical aspect, it will not, really help the farmers actually.
Thank you. And we still have a question for Sukafina. So who will finance all these trainers? Will the farmers receive a higher price for the coffee grown if it's more environmentally friendly?
Sorry, it's for me?
Yes, for Sukafina, so for you, Dinesh.
Can you repeat this?
So how or who will finance all these trainers? Will the farmers receive a higher price for the coffee grown in a more environmental friendly way?
Yeah, so we have a sustainability program. So we have a sustainability trainers and agronomists. So it's all Sukafina staffs. So they're the front-end team. They are training the farmers, and the farmers are committed to our program. So what depends on our clients. We definitely pay the premium for the sustainable coffee we buy from the farmers.
And if I remember correctly, with regards to scalability, you also mentioned before, now we're focusing on washed Arabicas. It can also be replicated to the Robustas, right?
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And Sergio, for you, so you have been training around 800 baristas over the last 5-6 years, right?
Yeah.
So what is your vision? Where do you want to go? Because in your concept, you talk about, if I remember correctly, 200 in your initiative. So what is your end goal?
Oh, our goal in this, we believe that if you continue to do this kind of programs, we can maintain the young people on the coffee area. This is the main activity. They can open their own businesses and work in their producer organization. No? The previous projects, no, the 800 baristas not trained, was found with USAID and JDP. So, but other areas, no, because we started in one area, but other areas in the coffee in the Peru act for the same focus. No, so that's why with this project we can get, or we can reach more other producers, other areas. No, in this way they can develop these skills. No, I think that the youth people is the gene for the future of the coffee industry in our country, because they are concerned about the environment, they are concerned about the quality, they are concerned about the market. So in this way they can move all this approach to that. No?
And do you also intend to go beyond, like to other countries?
Okay, as I told you, we work in 14 countries now around the world. Yeah, in Latin America, other countries now try to move to this way.
Similar.
No? Yeah, especially in Central America.
Thank you.
I'll just ask maybe a final question, as we still have a little bit of time. Obviously, sustainability is a very challenging sector to work in. Can you tell us a bit about, each of you tell us a bit about the challenges or obstacles you've had to come in either trying your technology or piloting these initiatives? Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I would say what's the good thing about Uganda is that Uganda has forced us to only think about the price. Everyone is price sensitive, which it was very hard in the beginning, but it's good because no one buys it because it's organic. Like, no one cares about being organic. It has to have a good price and it has to have a good yield. And I think that's really forced us to accidentally make the product work the way it does. We were complaining and crying about it in the beginning, but it's been really good. Everyone just buys it because it works well, not because of the fluff around it, which has been really good. Yeah. Great.
Dinesh?
Yeah. So sometimes we see the continuous commitment from the farmers. So if we are working in a group, sometimes they really, few farmers are there, not really, 100% putting effort, to work together. So sometimes we feel challenged, but we try to gather every 2 weeks once, and we convince them and we show the end result. So that's how we are able to managing this challenge actually.
Great, thank you. And Sergio?
Okay, our challenge, I'd say, well, in my country, to become barista, you have to move to Lima and live in Lima for a month. You have to pay your ticket, flight tickets or bus ticket. You have to pay your hotel, your per diem. So this kind of course in Lima, the cost is almost $800. It was impossible for this kind of people, for young people from the rural areas, to become baristas, to go to Lima, to the capital. So with this project, they will have the opportunity to become baristas in the same areas, because we will train there. We will hire specialty baristas that they will go to the coffee areas and teach them. So this is, I think, our main challenge, how we develop this kind of program with local entities to promote in other areas too. So this project will be a model to scale next.
Great, thank you so much. I just want to make sure we're covering the audience again. If there were any more questions. Yeah.
So that's a question for Tommy. I've been living in Uganda for a while, and you mentioned that a lot of farmers, they can't really afford fertilizer. I would like to understand, do you have some demos, or how can you convince them? So you talk about the price, of course, but if I'm not wrong, they also believe that if you don't put a fertilizer in between 2 years of putting fertilizer, they feel that the productivity will be down. So do you feel that your concept goes along with some other trainings to explain them, and not only like this fertilizer is better than others? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, good question. So we sell fertilizer, let's say the Arabica section, and then we have non-Arabica. So actually most of our fertilizer is not sold to coffee farmers, even though we can make it from coffee. But then in terms of the Arabica, so I'll give the example, we work with AgriEvolve at the washing station, and we train AgriEvolve's extension agents, and they train the farmers on why even, I mean, you know what it's like, why do you even need fertilizer, what is fertilizer? And so of course we do the training, what's the use, how to use it, how much to apply, etc. And then the financing mechanism is very difficult, right? Like in ideal world, you just sell the fertilizer to the farmer. It's not ideal. So now what AgriEvolve is doing is that they're taking the bonus payment on the coffee quality and they're exchanging that for the fertilizer, because you produce a fertilizer on site, so they come with the coffee, they leave with the fertilizer, and it's paid through the bonus program. Yeah.
Great. Well, if that's all questions done. Oh.
Thank you. A question on the compost. I mean, compost performs two roles. It provides nutrients, but it's also a soil conditioner, increases organic matter. And I just wondered whether either of you had ever looked at drawing off the sort of the liquid component of the fertilizer or the compost and providing it as a fertilizer, and then the dry as a soil conditioner, because that potentially gives better opportunities in terms of timing at different times of the year. Whether you'd looked at that as being an opportunity, or whether it was not a realistic concept. Thank you.
Is that for me or for Dinesh?
I think
for both of you.
Both, yeah.
For both, okay. So it's true that compost has a wet component and a dry component. We do sell wet fertilizer, which works better in central areas. Transporting water is expensive, and no one wants to transport water, although it does have a very, like both the dry and the liquid have a very different and important effect on the soil. In our solution, because you do have to greenhouse it, so this is maybe what we can talk about the downsides, but like you do have to greenhouse it or cover it so that it evaporates. But this means that we can actually add more water, so we add the honey water. So we actually want to make it more wet, so the larvae, they prefer a wetter environment. But because they're producing so much heat, it's in a greenhouse, it evaporates. So you actually are left with just one product, which is dry. Yeah.
Sure. So we not tried of liquid fertilizer so far. So we recommend to the farmers at 30 to 33% moisture we are distributing to the farmers. Maybe in future we try this liquid fertilizer method.
Two more questions. One up there and just one at the front as well.
Thank you. Great presentations across the board. Question for Tommy. I'm curious to the reaction of the manufacturers, synthetic manufacturers, and your thought of engaging them, perhaps constructively as a source of funding or a way to scale?
Yeah. So there's two producers in Uganda that we're approaching. One is Grain Pulse. They're fairly large, not as large as Yara, but we're approaching Grain Pulse. And we're talking to ETG, not necessarily a fertilizer company, but they want to get more into the fertilizer. I would love to talk more to Yara specifically. All the results are obviously based against Yara. Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I think maybe we're a bit too early for them. Maybe we're too small. I don't know. Maybe we should just do it, because I do think that even chemical fertilizer companies are seeing the downsides and the risk and the future, and maybe it could be part of their long-term plan. Yeah.
Pleasure to have the last question. Thank you. So I think one of the aspects of both the composting projects that caught most attention has been the reduction in CO2, so the GHG benefits. that has obviously caught the attention of people who have targets on those issues. And I'm just wondering whether there's any concept of allowing the farmer to monetize that benefit.
Yeah. Should I start? So yeah, definitely. I mean, actually, if you look at the green bean equivalent greenhouse gas emissions, a lot of it's pulp, but actually a lot of it's also the wastewater. So utilizing the wastewater, and the third is replacing the synthetic. So using the wastewater as much as possible is important. The question was? Yeah. So with AgriEvolve, we're working with a Dutch company called Biome. Biome is doing all the carbon credits for AgriEvolve. So we're not involved as a company, which is fine. But this is back to the financing question, actually, which is good. So for now, it's the bonus program. We hope in the medium term that it's the carbon credits, and also in the long term that the yield is so much better that it pays back for the fertilizer. But yeah, the carbon credits, we are doing it with a company called Biome, and definitely if it can trickle down to the farmer, which is great for us because then someone can pay for the fertilizer. Yeah.
Sure.
Dinesh, do you want to answer that as well?
Yeah, so we already measured carbon emission from one of our supply chain in West Java. So we divide it into two, so on-farm emission and off-farm. So on-farm, majority of emissions comes from use of synthetic fertilizer. This main root cause is basically the productivity is low. So we are encouraging the farmers to commit to reduce the synthetic fertilizer. When they are applying the organic fertilizer, definitely it will increase the productivity. It will decrease the carbon emission, and also we incentivize the farmers whenever they are in our sustainability program. We incentivize the farmers to lower the carbon emission in the on-farm.
Great. I think we'll wrap it up there then. So I just want to say thank you everyone for your questions and thank you for your remarks. Thanks again for sharing all your ideas and your projects. And I think we were just really delighted to receive such amazing finalists, but also applications to our very first sustainability contest from the SCTA Next Gen. Just to wrap up and remind you, we're voting for 3 different projects. Tommy's initiative is investing in the growth of his business, but specifically and very importantly, investing in the research he needs to be able to prove some of the techniques and data he needs to upscale his business. And Dinesh is here presenting his project, and the investment from the contest will go towards upscaling and replicating an already successful community-based waste management model in different areas of Indonesia. And then finally, Sergio's here to present his project, and the funding will go towards also replicating, upscaling an already successful training education model for baristas from coffee growing households, but based in coffee growing areas. So that's just to wrap it up. And just to remind you all that you can continue to vote until 6 p.m. today, and that's on the app. And we all need you to go around to your colleagues and everyone in the event today to promote this contest and everyone voting so we can make it as interactive as possible. I'm sure you're all really excited to know who the winner is. Again, to remind you, that will be announced tomorrow at the dinner. I think also just another point, we are still inviting sponsorship for the contest. We've had so many different stakeholders in the value chain, most importantly, all coming together to sponsor this initiative, this contest. But we would still like more. And the more sponsorship we receive, the more money can go to investing in these sustainability projects. So just want to thank you all for joining us here today in the room. And thank you, most importantly, to our finalists for pitching. And we hope you're all as excited as we are for the results tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you.
And as you said it, do not forget to vote. Everything is on the app. This is what you were saying. When we are landing on this homepage, we can actually, this is what I was looking at, we can click directly on the SCTA Next Gen Sustainability We can click on those guys and have a little summary of everything that was said and vote. This is how it works. Thank you again for joining us this morning. We have a lunch break right now, and we will be back here around 1:30. So bon appétit and see you soon.
Just get forgotten, but I don't wanna remain stuck, stagnant and rotten. I know I said I'd do it then, but what if I don't wanna? I'm on a different path now, standing at the corner of a crossroads. Both those divide just get forgotten, but I don't wanna remain stuck, stagnant and rotten.